Hi, it's Debbie. I just want to share my lessons learned this week. It started last Saturday, and it's all about small things and the impact on our lives of small things. When I decided to go down and do laundry last Saturday, I was at the top of the stairs and I had a small heel on, and I just said, I don't want to wear those down the stairs. So I kicked them off. And I went downstairs, and when I took my last step off the stairs, I put my foot down and water came up over it. And I was like, oops, that's not good. And I started looking around to see where the source of water was. I thought, well, maybe it was from the water heater, since that was really close to the stairs. And I opened the water heater closet, and it was perfectly dry. And I thought, well, what the heck? And then I started walking around to try and figure out what the damage was. And I discovered that pretty much my entire family room was flooded. So that kind of narrowed down to where I should go look for the water damage. And I went in my storeroom, and when I opened the storeroom door, I about died, because the water was standing water even with the top of my carpet on the other in the family room. And I thought, okay, this is, do I have a broken pipe? What is it that I have? And as I came in and I was going through my storeroom, I noticed that a small corner of it didn't have water in it. And I thought, well, okay, that's a good thing. And I went over to where my water shutoff valve is and my pressure valve is, and I looked and I looked and I looked, and I couldn't see anything. And I thought, how can all this water be here? Where is it? And as I was moving around, I just happened to get in the right light to see this little teeny tiny stream of water. It's that stream of water that goes from drop to just starting to stream. That's how tiny it was. And we had been working in there on my pressure valve a week before, and just when we did that, we had to shut the shutoff valve on and off, and it disturbed the packing in it. When the plumber came, it took him less than 5 minutes to fix it. It was a small fix, but it made a huge difference. And, another small thing that I learned is that I called all my neighbors and some of my friends at church to see if they could come help me, because as you can imagine, my small little flood turned into this huge flood. It flooded 2/3 of my basement. And I couldn't find anybody at home. Nobody was answering their phone. And those that did, they were out of town. So we have this Google group at church, and I just put this little tiny message on there. In the subject line, I said, help, help. And then my message was, I know it's busy and that you may not have very much time, but I have had this flood at my home, and it's too much for me to handle. If you could spare a few minutes, I would sure appreciate any help I could get. That's all I said, and I sent it out. And it wasn't very long before one of the ladies at church said, do you need a shop vac, and do you need a fan? And I needed both of them. She came over, and then a little bit later, a family came over, and they just kept coming. And once I had two people, I had the first lady and the family there, then it was just like the floodgates open, and we were able to move all of the stuff to safety and get it so that we could dry out the basement in just an hour and a half. What an amazing thing. A small act of sacrifice on somebody's part of their time made a huge difference in my life. And then we had 4 shop vacs going, and the water just was too much. After 3 hours of vacuuming, we decided this was more than we could handle. So I called a restoration company to come in and to dry things out for me. But as I was looking around, I found out that a decision I made, a small decision I made several years ago to store things in plastic tubs rather than in cardboard boxes, had made a huge difference. because I only had 3 boxes that were wet that I had to throw away. And I just had to throw away the box. I didn't have to throw away the inside stuff because it was stuff that I could actually dry out and use. So it was pretty powerful lesson to me to see all these small things. And I began to think about how the small things that we're doing with our AM PM schedule and the little action steps we're taking, how big their impact really is in our entire life. How we see life, how we engage with our everyday, and how we accomplish things. So my lesson learned is the power of small things. Doesn't matter how small, but it has a huge impact. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next week.